there. So I'm going to go down to the AM/PM Arco spot and go through the process of getting some gas here, and hopefully I'll just be able to get some gas and won't get into some crazy silly altercation that that uh, so some nutcase out here, because there's lots of people that are crazy out here in the streets today. Wherever you may be in the country, from the community to the world, it's the Jesse T Show, live at 5, straight on the point. And today we're going to talk about the way our country is being divided by everything, divided to have chaos and create harm and create ill feelings about you and me and everybody. It's Our country is being divided tremendously, and it's a terrible, terrible thing what's happening right here in our country, from the political arena to the entertaining arena to the athletic arena to the arena in schools to on the playgrounds and schoolyards. Our country is being divided into small segregated groups, that the group is more important than the whole. And I've always learned that the whole is greater than the group. Anyhow, I'm walking into the AM/PM market here. For those of you who are watching at www.thepowervoices.com, on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and for those of you who are checking us out there, and in that respect, I'm going to give the guys some money in here so I can get some gas and not run out and do my show where we're supposed to do the show from. So yeah, that's the AM/PM mini market behind me here in Sun Valley, and this is what we're going to do here. All right, so I'm talking to talking. Hi, how are you? Yes. All right, that was the attendant. Hey, buddy, how you doing? So this is how we got 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, I'm going to get that much there on the far outside pump, and that would be pump 12, right? Pump 12 is at the outside pump. The other side 11 is 12, right? Yeah. Okay, I'll put that regular. Okay, cool. Yeah. 6 right now? All right, thanks, man. All right. Why is it that all Indian guys own gas stations? I don't understand that. 7-Eleven, Circle K's, and gas stations. I think they got a monopoly. They have a monopoly on the business. That's what I think. Could you ever figure that one out? Why do they all own gas stations? And Circle K and 7-Elevens. That's a good business, by the way. Okay. All right. So we're talking about divide, racial divide, especially, because racial divide is the fabric of our society in America, because America was based on a conglomeration of peoples coming to this great nation from other parts around the world. Whether they were forced here or came here on their own, they got here, and they created a world for themselves, a life, a culture, an ideology, and America created itself on the backs of many people from all around the world. We weren't just a nation of people that were born in South America. We weren't just a nation of people that were born in Asia. We weren't just a nation of people that were born only in Germany or only in Africa or only in Russia. We were a nation that was born of people coming from all of those places here to America to create something new for themselves. There was great slavery. Of course, there was great slavery, because slavery has been a part of the human species and the humankind for time immortal. There have been slaves as far back into antiquity. So slavery is nothing new in the planet, in the history of the planet. It is not a good thing. And hopefully we can stop that from happening around the world. And because we know that that's not the way. That's not the way to provide people with a better way of life. Times have changed. Things have changed. People have changed. And we've moved on. We've moved on in this country to be much, much more inclusive than many nations around the world in that respect. So, it is a time now that we should be moving ahead. We should be stepping out and understanding that we are all one and one for all. I was always raised by my family. I was always raised to have no demarcation, no thought, no idea, good or bad or indifferent, about anybody. You take somebody for what they were and how they dealt with you. You took somebody for how they treated you and your family. And you took somebody for the things they provided for you, and you helped. And there was no separation of religion or age or ethnicity or sex or racial color. I was raised to not have any of that. And I lived in the San Fernando Valley here, and it was very dynamic and mixed population looking back on it. Historically, we had everybody was here, every color and denomination and body type and language and everything here in Southern California. The greatest of great melting pots, Los Angeles and Southern California has always been because of the weather. So our schools, when I was growing up, I'm 55 years old, so you can get an understanding of the timeline. When I was growing up, it was everybody just treated everybody normally. Nobody fought. No one pointed out and said disgusting words to each other. And I went to public schools, not just a private school. I did go to private school in the beginning of my school years, but I went to public schools. Our neighborhood was a mixed bag of everybody and everything and every walk of life and every economic structure. There were wealthy people and there were poor people and there were old people and there were young people and there was good people and there were bad people, and everybody knew where everybody was and everybody knew everything, and nobody around us and around me, and certainly was not targeted because of something. We were taught to be a melting pot. We were taught to be inclusive of everybody. We were taught to help and stick a hand out and say, you need some help. Can I help you in some way to serve somebody? And that's what we were taught. That's what I was taught growing up. I was taught. I didn't even know black man and a black woman existed till I was 14 years old. Can you imagine that one? And yet there were many family friends, my mom and workmates and stuff. They were African Americans, Bobby and Billy Douglas and PJ and Craig and everybody. But there was no discussion about someone's color. There was no. I didn't even know what Mexicans were and what the Spaniards and Italians were until I was 14 years old. I just was a kid growing up in a neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley in America that was just trying to be a kid, trying to, go to school and make your parents happy and get a summer job when I was old enough to do that. Now, I didn't care. Nobody cared, and then all of a sudden, LA Unified School District in the summer of 1974, when I went to my first public school. I was going into ninth grade. That's when we had 3 years of high school and 3 years of junior high school. That's what it was called. Not middle school, junior high school. 3 years. They should go back to that too, but that's for another discussion on another day. All of a sudden, LA Unified School District, all of a sudden, they decided to hand out a card to all the kids in homeroom class. And on this little 3x5 card were some questions. And the most important question was, what are you? What am I? What do you mean, what am I? I said, what do you mean, what are you? I said, I'm a guy. That's what I am. I'm a boy. That's who I am. I'm a dude. That's who I am. What do you mean, what are you? I couldn't answer the question. Then it had these little boxes that said, are you Caucasian? Are you black? Are you Mexican? That's what they had. Are you Asian? Or are you other? I looked at all four of those boxes and I said, heck, I don't know what I am. I'm an other. I'm an other. What do you mean, what am I? I'm an other. And I wrote in the box, other. So the card came back to me the next day at homeroom. And the card came back and the teacher gave it and she said, you got to fill this out right. Okay, so I filled out other. What are you? I'm American. American. Right? Send the card back. A couple days later, back in homeroom class, I get a card with all marked up with red. Right? All marked up with red. Right? And the teacher says to me, come here a second. I got to talk to you. You got to fill out what you are, who you are, what you are. And I said, okay, all right, I get it. So I filled out the card again. I'm Mr. and Mrs. Torrero's son. Well, the card came back again. Now, this went on for 2 or 3 more times. I'm from Chicago. I'm from Illinois. That's where I was born. I don't know what I am. I don't know. So finally, I got called into the principal's office, of course, for being, a disenfranchised, mischievous troublemaker. And I said to Mr. Quinlan, I said, I don't know what other means. I don't, And he said, well, what are you? Are you Mexican? What are you? And I said, I I am just me, Jesse Torrero. I can't help but being me, Jesse T. I guess that's where it started. Anyhow, www.thepowerofvoices.com. Thanks all for joining in from 5 to 6 here, Monday through Friday. Every day of the week here, we discuss something as you join the world and enter the circle of Torrero. We're live at 5, straight on the point. So he says, take this card home. So I take it home to your mom to fill out. I said, okay, I'll take it home to my mom and fill out. So I got to put my seatbelt on, otherwise LAPD is going to give me another. I got a ticket the other day. Can you imagine that? And I didn't even know I got a ticket. It was one of those photo tickets in Culver City. Do you have those tickets where they take pictures of you when you go through an intersection and you shouldn't be? Do you have those tickets in your town, in your city, where they automatically snap that picture? Well, they discontinued that in the city of Los Angeles. But in the cities that surround Los Angeles, they still continue with it. So anyhow, I got caught. But that's I'm going to fight that ticket. I know how to win. I'm going to teach you guys how to beat traffic tickets here coming up soon. All right, so I took home this card to my mother, and we're talking about chaos and anarchy and social disruption and the breaking of our society and the destruction of American ideology and the separation of people from people in this country and what they're doing meticulously and like with a microscope and a pincers and a scalpel. They're destroying a generation of people. Anyhow, so I took this thing home to my mother, and I brought her through the whole thing along with the other 8 cards that were all marked up in red. And I said, Mom, listen, I don't know how to answer this. Now I'm 14-year-old talk, right? I don't know how to answer this, Mom. And so she looked at it, and I explained the whole thing to her, and she goes, My mother was something else, just like your mom. You guys had a great mom. I'm sure you did. And my mother was so wise. She was so ahead of her time. She was so ahead of her time in terms of a lot of things. And so she sat me down. She said, okay, I get it. I get what they're asking for. Well, Jesse, this is Jesse Torrero. That's me. And my mom used to call me a special little pet nickname. I'm not going to tell you what it is. That's only for my mother. Anyhow, so, because you'll make fun of it. Anyhow, so she says, this is what you are. You're Spanish. Your surname is Spanish, Torrero. You're Italian. Okay. You're Mexican, okay? You're Scottish, you're Irish, or you're Scot-Irish. That's how they combine those. You've got some French, and you've got some German in you. And I looked at her and I went, oh, wow, I'm all of those things? And she said, yeah, you're all of those things. And then she explained to me, because I asked the question, well, how can I be all those things? Now, remember, I'm 14 years old in 1974. And so she says, well, this is how the blood and the DNA and the this is how we mix, and this is what we all are in America. We're Americans. We're a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a little pinch of this and a little pinch of that. And I said, wow. So we're that melting pot idea that they talk about in school. Yeah. I said, oh, well, that's cool. I'm a lot of things. And she said, yeah. I said, I'm just like an old dog at a dog pound. Don't know what it is. It's not a purebred, but it's just a little bit of everything, right? And she said, absolutely right. And you know what we're gonna do? I said, well, how are we gonna fill this out? And she goes, we're gonna mark the box Mexican, because in the future, maybe 10 or 15 years from now, you're going to be considered a minority, and you're going to get all those minority benefits. Yikes! My mom was right on the button. Man, could she perceive stuff? It was great. So I took the card back, and we marked the box, and that was it. But here's the moral of the story. In 1974, it was imposed upon a population of young children throughout LA Unified School District that we had to define ourselves who we were. And that means that we had to separate ourselves from each other. We had to consciously think, for the first times in all of our lives, for many I'm sure, that we had to separate ourselves and define ourselves, that I am different than you and you are different than me, and we're all different than everybody. And we're not just Americans anymore. I'm this American, I'm that American. And that's when I started hearing, not a few, about 4 or 5 years after that, as my generation grew older, the end of the baby boom generation, that's when I started hearing African American. That's when I started hearing Mexican American. That's when I started hearing Italian American. That's when I started hearing Spanish American. And I always started questioning, especially in my 20s, I started questioning, what? You're an American. If you're that, then I'm a Spanish, Italian, Mexican, Scot, Irish, German, French, American. And that's what I think I'm going to put down. You got to be kidding me, right? But you see, this was the start of the separation of young people, defining themselves in my lifetime that I am different than you, and not just all being the same. See, I was raised and we were all just the same. And we all would work our problems out and come to a resolution in a proper way. But this is the start of it. And now today, what happens? You got knuckleheads like Trump standing up there, pointing a finger, south, west, east, and north, saying, you're this and you're going to stay there. You can't come here because you're this. You can't come here because you're that. You can't do this because you're this. Now, I don't disagree with some of the things that he says. I'm full and 100% locking down immigration and turning the system off and rebooting it and restarting it for the modern age of 2016. There has to be a more comprehensive way to do our immigration process so we don't let the terrible, disgusting, rotten, evil people in this country, that we figure out a way with all our sophisticated technology and all of our sophisticated science, that we figure out a way to vet the bad guys out. Because I don't want to be sitting at McDonald's with my family and have a bomb blow up, or some idiot come into Target and decide to shoot the place up. I don't want to have to pull my weapon and shoot him before he shoots me. I don't want to have to, be sitting in San Francisco at an outside cafe and have a satchel bomb blow up in a car. I don't want that lifestyle in Europe. And we don't want that. I'm sure you don't want that. The only way to not get that is we got to shut down and restart and reboot our system of immigration. So I'm in agreement with him on that in terms of the concept. He's never going to build a stupid wall, people. It's never going to happen. That's just hyperbole to get him to win the nomination, to rile up the middle part of America. The middle part, I'm not specifically saying Kansas City and Oklahoma. I'm talking about the middle American, the American that's in the middle, to rile up this posturing, this silent majority they talk about. That's all that was for. Not going to build any wall. We need Mexico and Central America. We need them like we need our right arm. If it wasn't for them, our population would be going down. I explained that earlier, a long time, about 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, about how population means everything to keeping your culture. The making of babies means everything. So Trump, yeah, the old blabbermouth, wash his mouth out with soap. Absolutely. I mean, this guy, yeah, he's adding to the racial injustice and the chaos and the social anarchy in the street. Absolutely. He's adding to all of that. Absolutely. I don't disagree with you on that. You got no argument in this corner there. I agree with you. But I'd rather have him than Clinton. I can't stand a liar. And we'll talk about her at some other time. She's not so hot on racial equality either. I mean, I don't like the way the Democrats have done over the years, how they've completely taken advantage of folks of color. And it's just terrible in that respect. But I can point a lot of stuff out there that I'm not going to go into right now. But I'm just here to tell you that our country and our society has got to change. And it's not changing for the better. Seeing every day on the internet news, every day on the regular news, which I don't believe, every day in the newspapers, what's left of them, every day in the magazines, if there are any around, seeing every day some riot taking place somewhere, not just here in this country, but around the world. The anarchy and the anger just because somebody's a different color, or somebody's a different religion, or somebody's a different belief pattern, or somebody is different than you. I mean, come on, really? Is that what it's all about? Okay, well then give me a law I can strap my 45 onto my side. Because if we're going to have anarchy in the street, let me be the one to bring it on. Okay, because I'm going to defend myself for anybody. But here's the point. This is what it's coming down to. It's terrible when you start thinking about what's happening. And it all starts with how we perceive ourselves with relationship to how in the world that we live in the world that we're raised in the world that we begin to believe when it's shaped when we're children. My world was shaped differently. My world was shaped that, you take somebody for what they are and who they are until they screw you. And then vengeance is my own, saith the Lord, and I am the Lord. Let the wrath start with me. But you treat everybody honest, straightforward and solid with sincerity and belief and truth until they prove you wrong. And they'll prove you wrong by their actions. It doesn't matter about their color. It doesn't matter how they talk. It doesn't matter about what the past was and what the present is. It matters that you treat people properly and you are inclusive to solve the problem, not exclusive to solve the problem. And this is the problem I have today with so many separate groups. They exclude everybody else to solve the problem. They're exclusive of everybody else to solve the problem. They're not inclusive of everybody else to solve the problem. I don't know if you had the chance to hear Reverend James Stern talk here on the Jesse T Show a couple of weeks ago, live at 5, of course, straight on the point. You're entering the world of Torero right here on the powerofvoices.com, Monday through Friday from 5 to 6. Like the way I roll into that? Facebook.com/Jesse Torero, Facebook.com/thepowerofvoices.com, and on YouTube Live, The Power of Voices. Now look it. We got to be inclusive, not exclusive. And that's the problem I have. And I have it with every group. I don't care what group you are. I don't care if you're Mexican. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're Lebanese. I don't care if you're Armenian. I don't care if you're Japanese. I don't care if you're Somalian. I don't care if you're Canadian. I don't care if you're from Chile. I don't care if you're from Germany. I don't care if you're from Dubai, Asia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Australia, New Zealand, Colombia, Panama, El Salvador, Norwegian, Russian. I don't really care where you're from. Yeah, I can name every country in the world. Can you? Because that's what our world is. Our world is a global map now. It's not a separatist entity trying to conquer the next landmass. That's not what it's about anymore. It's called globalization. It's called multiculturalism if you haven't been reading. We are becoming a multicultural world. We are mixing the bloods, mixing the DNA. We are becoming one people. And I just don't understand. Oh, I understand, but I don't like it when people exclude others from their plight, when they're not inclusive and they're exclusive. That drives me insane. You know, like the Trump rallies. And you've got these people fighting these people out of the outskirts of the rallies. These people should be included, not go there to fight to try to be excluded. The violence is terrible. It's a perception, and we've got to change that. And so that brings me to somebody else that bothered me very much in the last 24 hours. And it's not just somebody else. It's a whole direction of a whole bunch of somebodies that bother me. Bother me tremendously. Bother me like taking vinegar and snorting it up your nose. It makes you smart. And it bothers me because I'm really sensitive to hearing certain words that place an ideology and a thought pattern down a journey and a path. I was watching BET last night. And I generally don't watch the award shows because the award shows, unless I'm doing a red carpet, which I do a lot of those, and I do a lot of interviewing backstage and red carpet, and I just chose that, I didn't want to do the BETs this year. And I was busy doing something else with some other business that's really important towards what we're trying to accomplish here at thepowervoices.com. So I just watched it on TV. And the argument and the discussion on stage, and it's just not this particular individual, it's every one of these award shows. What makes and who thinks that just because you win an award gives you a right to stand up there and postulate your point of view to the world in some way or some fashion? Just take the award. Say thank you. Appreciate your fans and the ones that put you there. And be appreciative of them and go sit down and enjoy. You don't have to get up there and point out some political agenda. It bothered me really much when Marlon Brando, way back, he won the Academy Award. I think it was his only one. And he sent somebody out there to pick it up, and he refused to pick up the Academy Award. What a slap. What a slap to the industry. What a slap to his peer group. How disrespectful and dishonorable can you be? That really set my thoughts about Marlon Brando. People bestow some kindness and gesture and some ceremony upon you, and you shun it because you have some political agenda. What kind of stuff is that? It's ridiculous. You want to take your political agenda and go do it. Well, don't do it on that kind of stage. That's silly. They're just as bad as Trump, and just as bad as Clinton, and just as bad as all the ones that have some political angst against something or something. We should be just trying to make this country whole and make people love and have sympathy and compassion for each other and speak words of kindness and love. That's the one thing about Martin Luther King. When you read about Martin Luther King, the one thing you walk away about Martin Luther King, he was a man of forgiveness, a man of love, and a man of strong posture. He was a man that was not afraid to get up in the face of wrong and take the bitings of the dogs and the high pressure hoses and get thrown in jail. But he never struck back. He never hit back. He gave his life for what he believed in. And that is a compassion, peaceful march, peaceable uprising. Not burning someone's house down, not shooting somebody up, not burning somebody's town down. All those knuckleheads at Ferguson, what did they accomplish? They burned down half their city. Now, I don't care what color they were. There were all kinds of knuckleheads lighting fires and looting. What kind of stuff is that? Burn half your city down? Oh, that's really smart. Yeah, really smart. That's really the right thing to do. Now you got nowhere to go because these people aren't going to move back in and get their businesses burned down again. That happened here at the LA riots. Stores and liquor stores and convenience centers were being burned to the ground and gas stations. Oh, isn't that wonderful? That's great. You know, my father used to say, a bear don't go poop his backyard. You know, really, that would be something to heed. So, you know, the point is, people are being too exclusive of each other. They're not being inclusive of each other. And that's the thing to talk about. That's the thing that we have to do. We should be loving the fact that we have the ability now to reach out to everybody we need to reach out to technology. We should be loving the fact that we can bring forces together that never could come together, that could come together for the good of the many versus the group of the one. The good of the many outweighs the group of the one. But people are only thinking about the one and not the many. America is what's important. And shaping America to be a nation of sympathy and compassion and empathy. Not a nation that's fighting in the streets, not a nation that's revolutionary, not a nation that takes up arms. Would you like it? You know, I hear these people talking about police killing and police killing like I did on BET, and the police are out to get you. Okay, all right, well, here it is. Why don't we just fire every policeman in the United States of America? And then let's see what happens. Let's see just what happens. You think the people are going to police themselves? You think they're going to have, little town sheriffs? No, what they're going to have is they're going to have little dictators that have more guns than anybody else because the bad guys will always get them. That's what they're going to have. Just fire all the cops in the nation. That would be a good place. That's a good start. Let's do it right. Let's quit complaining. Everybody, hey, I got a new cause. Here's my new cause. Let's quit complaining. Let's put our words where our mouth are, right? Let's do the walking. Let's put it up right now. I'm going to start a new cause. It's called the Coalition of Getting Rid of Every Single Police Officer, no matter what their color, religion, age, sex, no matter what their sexual persuasion is, no matter what they are, where they came from, what education they have. I got the coalition that wants to fire them. Let's get them all fired. I got no problem. I'll wrap my AR-15 around my shoulder. I got no problem. I'll put my 45 on. I got no problem. Let's do it, baby. Let's go the wild, wild west. Dodge City, here we come. All right? Would you like that kind of world to live in? Really? People complain. They complain instead of trying to solve the problem. Bunch of whiners and complainers. Complain, complain, complain. Well, why don't you put up some solutions to solve the problem? Why don't you be inclusive of solving the problem? Why don't you step out and say, this is what I think we should do, 1, 2, and 3. Why don't you be more like Martin Luther King? Why don't you be more like Cesar Chavez? Why don't you be more like Gandhi? Why don't you be more like Mother Teresa? Why don't you be more like people of that nature and ilk? Why don't you be more, create a solution and a problem solve rather than point the finger and complain and then go burn buildings down? I don't care whether you're a white Aryan race knucklehead, Nazi, neo-Nazi living in Montana or Idaho. You're just as bad. Who do you think you are up there doing what you do? You got to be kidding me. It makes you think you're any better than anybody else that has a different color skin? You trace your lineage and DNA back, brother. You ain't pure. Because we're not pure in this country. Nobody's pure in the world. We're all second cousins. I get on this bandwagon at least once a week because it drives me absolutely, utterly insane to my boots. Because people just don't realize what they're doing and what they're saying and how they're acting. People think that they're doing something important. They're doing something destructive. They think they can get on the global stage and say something. And Trump's at the top of it, and so is Clinton. Those both knuckleheads. And so is that guy, Jesse Williams at BET. How dare he get up there and say the things he said? I found that to be so disrespectful and dishonorable. I'd say it to his face. I have no problem with that. I'll meet anybody in any place and say it to his face. Because you know something? I talk about inclusivity. It's not exclusivity. You want to change a problem? You hold my hand. We'll walk down the field of fire and we'll take the bullets together. But don't think because I'm a different color than you or somebody's a different color than you, whether you're white or black or brown or green or polka dots or purple or gray or pink or yellow and you got 2 heads, 5 heads or 7 feet or 27 toes. I don't really care. The bottom line is we have to be united See, that's the thing. We're not united anymore in anything in this country. We're fighting amongst each other, and that's what they want. The best way to beat your enemy, Sun Tzu in The Art of War, a 6,000-year-old treatise on war. He said you have to conquer. You know how you conquer? You divide and conquer. You divide everybody and conquer. Because in the power of many comes the power of one. It's one force that makes change. Not a bunch of little separatists looking out for their own agenda. The De La Soul crowd, me, myself, and I, to be anybody else? No, absolutely not. Look, it's really simple to understand. If you want to make a change in your life, and you want to make a change in your life, you want to change your city, your town, and your country, you want to make a change for good, you have to change with intelligence. You have to change with peace. You have to change with the understanding that change comes slow and change comes from within and out. You can't change by violence unless you want a revolution. And if you want a revolution, if you want to change this country to a revolutionary war, another revolution war, that's never going to happen because you'll get taken out. Because this government will not let that ever happen. This isn't 1700s, my friend. It'll never happen. You, I, anybody get taken out faster than we take the next breath. And don't you think I'm wrong on that. Just do some homework and research about dissidents who were over and above and out of control. They secretly evaporated from the face of the planet Earth, huh? That's right. We live in a different world today and a different understanding. And it takes the power of the people to come together. The power of the people's voices. That's right. The people's voices. The power of voices. The power of action collectively together. Holding hands as one strong, powerful unit. We want to make effective change in the police department. We have to come to them as a strong unit of one, of all shapes and sizes, of all colors. Americans, not African Americans, not Mexican Americans, not Italian Americans. Americans, Americans. Hey, Americans. None of us are pure. And we should relish in the fact that we have a great nation to live in, that is governed by two great seas, that's kept us out of the riffraff of the rest of the world, so we could grow and become prosperous and successful. And we could dominate the planet Earth through commerce and capitalism, and not war. But we could protect our citizens and protect our interests like no other. Be the policeman for the world if we have to be. We should relish in the fact that we live in God's greatest nation, God's greatest green blue earth, the greatest nation history has ever created. Whether you came here against your will or for your will, you're here. You're here. And you don't make effective change by just thinking. Black lives matter. White lives matter. Asian lives matter. Mexican lives matter. Women's lives matter. Men's lives matter. Children's lives matter. Japanese lives matter. Armenians' lives matter. Italians' lives matter. Everybody's life matters. Bothers me to no end when I see people doing that. It bothers me to no end when I see these people causing violence on people at a Trump rally. Not because I may be pro-Trump or anti-Trump. In fact, quite frankly, I'm anti all of them. I can't stand any single one of them. I can't. But I got to vote for somebody. I got to vote for somebody, and I don't know who that's going to be yet. It might be Mr. Magoo. It might be the Roadrunner. I don't know. I kind of like Popeye. Popeye the Sailor, man. I'm Popeye the Sailor, man. You know? Seriously. We have to understand that together we can make change. TEAM. Together, everybody achieves more. Separate, everybody achieves nothing. And that's one of the things that we have to really begin to address. And that is, We have to really begin to see how we have been on purpose and directly by choice caused to separate and hate each other. Hate each other. Despise you. Despise me. And not love each other. And not treat each other with honor and honesty and compassion. We treat each other with disdain and fear today on the cities and towns and counties across the nation. People are afraid of this, afraid of that. They're afraid to walk their dog down a street. They're afraid to walk their dog at the park because there are other type of looking people that are hanging out at the park playing football or soccer or basketball or swimming. People are afraid to speak their truth. This politically correct society that's prospered for 40 years of my life has really ruined our country and has really shut down the dialogue, the true honest dialogue, the painful dialogue that it takes to get to the ultimate, and that is the bringing together of groups of people under the red, white, and blue and the stars and stripes, under the Star-Spangled Banner and America the Beautiful. That's what it is. It's all about America. It's not about me. It's not about you. If you want to really put your hand on something, it's about those men and women that fight for our right to have this discussion today, to have this talk, to have this thought-provoking idea. You may not agree with me. You may not like me. You may not think that I'm right. You may think I'm a little bit crazy. You may agree with me. You may love me. You may think I'm right on the button. You may think I'm absolutely sane. Whatever you think is what you think. But boy, I'll tell you, I have the ability, just like you, to be able to speak my mind as long as I speak it with respect and honor and not disrespect and dishonor. As long as I speak my mind with inclusivity, not exclusivity. Okay, as long as I speak my mind and I look at a situation and say, wait a minute, that's not right. Wait a minute, that's not wrong. Because you see, the very real essence of it is what is right and what is wrong. The essence of everything is right and wrong. One of the reasons why when I got through law school, and I'm not an attorney. I am not. I just went to some law school education. Whoopee friggin' do. Okay, I got some ink on some paper that sits in the file cabinet. Whoopee friggin' do. What is that? What is that? You know, one of the reasons why I knew very early on when I started law school that I wasn't going to be a lawyer is because one of the things took place that I learned in my first year. And I found out when you go to law school not to learn to be a lawyer, but you go to law school to learn how to stretch out a bill, how to get paid. That's what you do, how to argue and argue and argue and argue. You learn that a word doesn't necessarily have to be a word. Like President Clinton said, yeah, the gigolo in the White House. I didn't have sex with that woman. And what is. Okay, seriously, really? Yeah. You learn that a word does not necessarily mean what a word is. A comma and a period, an exclamation point, a diphthong. Doesn't necessarily mean what it is. It can be all kinds of things. You learn how to structure through past cases, how to find something to argue your position. The one thing I learned about law school is you learn how to make money. The second thing I learned about law school, my first year of law school, was that nothing is as it seems. Nothing. So when somebody says something to you of authority or someone says something to you like your friend, it's not as it seems. There's always an ulterior motive. There's always a motive that you can't see that lurks in the shadow, that the only entity that knows is the shadow knows. That's it. The other thing I learned in law school is that nothing is as it seems, and everything can be argued. Everything can be argued. You can argue everything, just so long as your argument is sound and has some merit to it. Everything has an argument to it. There's one side and then there's the other side. There's never the side right down the middle. Only God knows the real truth in that respect. And the other thing I learned in law school was, and this was really a poignant thing that I learned in my first year of law school. Not only is nothing is as it seems, not only is you can argue anything, not only is that you learn how to make money, but one of the most important things was this simple statement. Oh man, there always is an ulterior motive. An ulterior motive for everything. And when you learn these things, as well as the concept of right means nothing, honor means nothing, ethic and morality mean nothing, honesty means nothing. When you learn these things in your first year of law school, that the only thing that means anything is the law. When you learn these things, you realize that, at least I did for me, that, wow, this is a divisive practice. This is a practice that separates people, doesn't bring people together. Granted, we need attorneys for all kinds of things in this world, absolutely, and attorneys have done some really great things. But generally speaking, the world has become very antagonistic, and the world has become very argumentative. We've got to get back to the idea that honor and honesty and ethic and morality and the pure simple concept of right is important. What is right is important, and what is wrong is important. And we need to know the difference between that, and that's just simply not being taught anymore. It's a clouded path. The journey isn't clear. And what that creates is a fear. And in that fear comes targets. And in those targets comes inflammatory language. And in that inflammatory language comes physical violence. And in that physical violence comes harm and death. And in that harm and death begets more evilness and more nastiness and more negativity. We've gone down the wrong path, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get back to the path where there's some logic and common sense, a path where there is no angst and anger. To get up there on the BET stage and say those types of things, shame on you. Find another platform. Find something else. Get out there and do what you say you do. Be really involved in your humanitarian effort like you are in the award that you won for your humanitarian gifts. Continue the fight. But shame on you to pick out one group and not be inclusive of all groups. Shame on you. Shame on you, Trump. Shame on you to pick out one group and not to be inclusive of all. Shame on you, Clinton, to be a liar and a deceitful cheater. Shame on you. And shame on anybody who stands up and proclaims in those ideological patterns. We need to be talking about joining forces. You want effective change in this country? Join forces. Join together. Americans come together and fight the fight of right. Stand up against wrong. Americans come together. Make up for what has been messed up. Americans come together and get back to the concept that a man and a woman is as good as their word and is as honorable as their handshake. Americans come together and stand up and not be politically correct and call it like you see it, without profanity and without violence in your voice and without anger in your actions. Americans come together and participate in a conversation of change. And we put enough Americans together in a mass amount, will be an iceberg of multiculturalism, an iceberg of multi-religious spiritual understandings, an iceberg of multi-ethnic backgrounds. A diversity is quite stronger than one singularity. We should be pluralistic and not singular in our fight for what's right. That's what should have been said on the stage. That's what should have been proclaimed. That's what the show should have been about if you're going to state something. That's what we need to do in this country. Not get up there and point the finger. Because remember, when you point the finger, you got three fingers pointing back at you. So don't point the finger. Put out the extended hand and grab up somebody that can and help them get to the point where they fight the fight with you and for you and about all of us, because this is the future of America. Not a separatist nation, one group against the other, one political agenda against the other. This is not America. America is a cohesive group. And that's how we got to be where we are. Maybe not perfect. Granted, I understand and agree. Maybe not better than our dreams, but it has gotten better. You can't doubt that. And it continues to get better. And we need to relish, and we need to put on a pedestal, and we need to cherish, and we need to award, and we need to spotlight how good it has gotten, and how good it is, and how wonderful it is, not how bad it is. We need to spout out our mouths. Look what we've accomplished. Yes, look where we have to go. But we're leaders of the world, of where we're going to, because we're Americans. We're not African Americans. We're not Mexican Americans. We're not Chinese Americans. We're not Vietnamese Americans. We're not El Salvadorian Americans. We're not French Americans. We're not Jordanian Americans. We are Americans. That's who we are. And that's what we have to relish. And that's what we have to honor. Because if we don't, then we disgrace all that who come down the path before us and have died and put their lives on the line for us to join in unity to solve our problems. Not to join in disgust and disrespect and pointing the finger like that young man did on the stage at BET, and like that Trump does on the political stump, and like that Clinton does. We need to join our forces. And anybody else who doesn't agree with that, who doesn't understand what I'm talking about, I appreciate where you're at. It's time to understand that you can't do it alone. None of us can in this country. None of us can do anything alone. We have to do it as a team and participate as one. And anybody that defies that should be recognized as somebody who's trying to create strife and chaos and anarchy and division and separatism and segregation amongst us, men and women, children of America. www.thepowervoices.com. Jesse T is on the air and everywhere, of course, from the community to the world. As we begin to get to the end of the show today, I appreciate everybody who always checks in. I appreciate the emails that come to me at winwinwininc@yahoo.com. I appreciate all the viewers and all the listeners as I've been driving here around the San Fernando Valley and the community today, cross-sectioning different parts of the town on my way to my next real estate appointment. What a busy day it's been here in the real estate world. Just crazy. Things are heating up as the temperature heats up in Southern California. And we've been talking about something that just really set me off this morning. And hopefully I was able to touch some sensitive spots in you and get you thinking about some stuff. We're always open to your suggestions and always open to your feedback. And always remember, you can check us out Monday through Friday from 5 to 6, Monday through Friday from 5 to 6, right here on thepowervoices.com. Now, interesting thing, we're growing at thepowervoices.com. The phone number always to call in is 424-227-9461. We've got lots of shows here at thepowervoices.com, lots of diverse shows that have different topic matter, different ideologies, different opinions, different looks at things. What a learning experience to listen to the format here and the great programming that Josefa Salinas and Lee Michaels are putting together here, a strong, powerful staff to be able to cover the whole gamut of what we're talking about today in the year 2016. We have a terrific sports show with Greg Bell, ex-NFL player for the Los Angeles Rams and LA Raiders, and we're doing some stuff with him. Going to start working some visual stuff with him, so he's just a terrific sports show. You want to check him out. This guy's got all the inside scoop on sports. We have some terrific shows from some young ladies who are just wonderful. The Fat Girls show is terrific. A couple of young little types. I believe they call it the Tweenie show or the Tweenie Teens. Just a terrific show. Everybody's point of view here, and lots of great talk show hosts and lots of great ideas to fill out and round out the box of information that you can't get anywhere else. Thepowervoices.com at www.thepowervoices.com. We're going more and more in the visual world as well on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, thepowervoices.com. You can also catch us and the replays of this and live shows at AEV TV and our digital broadcasting network located at facebook.com/Jesse Terrero. Roku is coming. Wascal.com is coming. DaliPlay.tv, our Spanish hookup, is there already. Verizon is coming. And Xbox Live and Amazon Fire TV is coming. Snapchat, Instagram are already there for us. So we're participating on many of the social networks as we continue to grow more and more and more. This year, 2016, in the summer, is going to be filled full of excitement and amazement and great programming for you, and we want you to always be a part of it. Well, hey, we got a great shows lined up for you this week, and this is thepowerofvoices.com. That's right, it's Jesse T on the air and everywhere from the community to the world. It's the Brown Beauty, Jesse Terrero, and the Brown Beauty is off duty. See ya. Boom.